Turning to page 175 of the Appropriation Committee amendments to House Bill 30, an objection has been raised by Delegate Simon to item 452, number 2H.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Speaking to the amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, I would urge the body to reject this amendment. I represent Falls Church and parts of Fairfax County, including the intersection of Interstate 495 and I-66. And we recently, starting this fall, started to see tolling inside the beltway in the peak direction during what were HOV times. And you guys have probably seen the headlines about what the result of that tolling has been. When things get really congested, this is anti-congestion tolling, and we've had folks have $40, $45 tolls show up on the signs. It's been national news. And I was actually sort of okay with that. I could explain that to my constituents because I would turn to them and say, listen, for the most part, you couldn't use this road if you were in a single occupancy vehicle before. You're not being asked to pay for something you could use before because if you didn't have HOV, you couldn't use it. Now you're buying onto a road you couldn't use. It wasn't available to you before. And, you know, yes, we expanded the hours. We had a bill to bring those hours back. That didn't pass. We're not going to revisit that issue today. But it made some sense, and people got it. All right, I'm buying to buy in to use some excess capacity for a road I couldn't use before. If we start charging the reverse direction, right now those reverse direction tolls are not restricted to HOV vehicles. So you're going to tell my constituents who used to be able to use that road for free with one driver in the car that now they're going to have to start paying congestion-based tolls to drive the other way. And that is something I can't defend to my constituents, and I can't tell them why they should have to do that. I understand that there's revenues from the tolling inside the Beltway are going to be used for corridor improvements. I understand there's a lot of good that comes from that. And again, it's something that wasn't available to them before. But if you're going to flip that around and have folks told in the other direction and be told they have to stop using the road, one, they're going to have to find another way to get around. They're going to get off 66, they're going to get onto the side roads, they're going to run through my neighborhood, they're going to be coming in a hurry to get from place to place because they can't use the route they used to use all the time, which they were using. You're going to ask them to pay these enormous tolls. So, Mr. Speaker, members of the House, I would really encourage the body to vote no on this amendment. Let's get this out of the budget. There's no need to toll the reverse direction. Enough is enough. We pay higher taxes in Northern Virginia for transportation. We pay for all kinds of things. We pay high enough tolls in the peak direction. Let's not add these enormous tolls to folks driving the other way to start using a road they can already use for free.
Delegate from Virginia Beach, Delegate Stolley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the amendment.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would draw everybody's attention that this will not take effect until most likely around mid-2020 when the extension of the eastbound lanes are completed so that there'll be additional lanes there. This is part of the HOT network up in Northern Virginia. It is dynamic tolling, so its sole purpose is to try to alleviate the traffic congestion that is up there. I would encourage the members to support this amendment.
Delegate from Prince William, Delegate Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak to the amendment.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join with the remarks from the delegate from Fairfax, urging a vote against the amendment on this case. In my district in Western Prince William County, we have so many people who I have heard from time and time again, as well as from the city of Manassas Park, who have urged me to do everything I can to fight more tolls on I-66. We already have enough complaints about the existing ones going in, and if we've got more on the reverse side, when we don't have congestion going the opposite way in the reversible lane, then with the reversible toll, that's going to cause more bailout traffic to our secondary roads. It's going to cause more bailout traffic to people who simply do not want to have to pay another toll on I-66. And what we've noticed in this body, based on the I-81 vote that we just took here, is that we are gradually becoming more accommodating toward tolling in Virginia as a whole. And I'm of the mindset that says public roads are publicly financed. and they are not to be done on a toll and user fee system. So I would urge the body to please reject the amendment. Thank you.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Hugo.
Mr. Speaker, speak to the amendment.
Delegate has the floor.
I would hope we would support the amendment. And I would say my colleague from Prince William doesn't quite get what it's doing here. So if you represent Fairfax, Western Fairfax, if you represent Prince William, Western Prince William, Fauquier, when you get up in the morning, you'll end up going, if you're going in town, you'll pay that $47 toll sometimes. And then when you go home at night, you'll pay the same, you'll pay a toll again. But if you live in Arlington, DC, or Maryland, and you're, say, going to Tyson's and West, you pay no toll in the morning, and you get a free ride home. What this amendment's trying to do, and I appreciate the inclusion by the chairman and the members, what it's going to do is equalize. So if your constituents in Western Prince William are tired of paying a $47 toll, we'll even it out by getting some of the people in Arlington to pick up the freight. And let's understand, this is not about dynamic tolling. The Secretary of Transportation, the previous one, came before the Joint Committee on Transportation, which a number of you are members of, and I said, why did you do this? Why did you just let Arlington, D.C., Maryland off? And the answer was simply, hey, we cut a deal. We were trying to cut a deal, quote unquote. So if you want equity, if you want fairness, if you represent Prince William County, if you represent Fauquier, if you represent Western Fairfax County, I hope you vote for this good amendment. Thank you.
Delegate from Manassas, Delegate Carter.
Mr. Speaker, speaking to the amendment.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the delegate from Fairfax for his remarks, but Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid he's missed the mark. We've got, in my district, in the 13th district, even in the 40th district, we've got thousands of constituents that live out on the western end of Prince William County, and they work inside the Beltway, but they work second or third shift, and they're driving those reverse commutes. So a vote yes on this amendment is a vote to increase tolls on people in western Prince William County and the city of Manassas and western Fairfax and Loudoun and Fauquier. And Mr. Speaker, we've already done enough of that with the tolls going in during rush hour. We don't need to do it again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We're not the House of Commons. Delegate from Prince William, Delegate Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to keep this brief. Long story short, Mr. Speaker, speak to the amendment.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I told the people of the 13th District last year that I oppose all tolling in Northern Virginia, I didn't put an asterisk next to it. I'm voting no on this to oppose all tolling in Northern Virginia.
Delegate from Frederick, Delegate Collins.
Speaking of the amendment, very briefly, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been very heartening to hear everyone in Northern Virginia talk about all their transportation issues. Those of us on the eastern side of, the western side of Virginia, with the Interstate 81, would really appreciate your support the next time that we are asking for some assistance on our highways. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate from Powhatan, Delegate Ware.
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion.
Delegate may state it.
I move the pending question.
Delegate Ware moves the pending question. All those in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Pending question is moved. Shall the committee amendment be agreed to? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 65, noes 34.
Ayes 65, noes 34. Committee amendment passes.